Hey guys, I'm Hyozi. Last time I managed to beat fossil fighters using only air Vivosaurs after abusing super enraged strats. So let's see if I can win with a different element. Today I'll be using fire element Vivosaurs, who I'm assuming lean more towards power, considering entries like T-Rex and Guan, but who knows. Fire is weak to water but strong to earth. I expect that Snivels will be easy this time, but Woolbeard might give me a challenge. The rules for this challenge are simple. I'm only allowed to use fire element Vivosaurs in battle. If the story requires me to have other Vivosaurs on my team, I can include them. However, I'm not allowed to use their abilities in any way, meaning no attacking and no buffing. If I'm forced to use a non-fire element Vivosaur and they're the only ones remaining on my team, then that fight will be treated as a loss and I'll have to restart it. I'm also playing with level caps, meaning my Vivosaur's levels cannot exceed the level of the current level cap, usually dictated by the ace of the next level up fight. If one of my Vivosaurs has a higher level than the level cap, I can't use it in battle until the level cap increases. Finally, I'm not allowed to use glitches, cheats, or exploits in any way. Now, let's begin the challenge. For this run, I told Captain Travers that my favorite dinosaur was Nichus, as I can get a Nichus as one of my first Vivosaurs, and a Frie leg fossil can be pretty strong early game. This also gives my character blue hair, dark blue shorts, and a red shirt, which I'm pretty sure is the canon outfit, but how any of that correlates to Nichus, I have no idea. Unfortunately, I can't get any fire element Vivosaurs during the Greenhorn Plains section, as that dig site contains exclusively air Vivosaurs for now. So I quickly run through the fights with Metal Dealer Joe and Wendy and unlock my first viable dig site of Knotwood Forest. The majority of Knotwood Forest is closed off to me at first, but I do have access to a small portion at the gate. This lets me revive my first two Vivosaurs, S-Raptor and Nichus. S-Raptor is a rather bulky Vivosaur that can later use a knock skill, while Nichus is a poison user that somehow manages to hit harder than S-Raptor currently. The only downside is Nichus uses a ton of FP early game, with their standard attack using the full 80 I get per turn. So I'm just going to have to make them work until I get new revivals. After getting these two, I boxed the other non-fire Vivosaurs I was using and reached my first roadblock of the run, in the Nameless Attendant. Half of his team isn't threatening to me, it's just an Earth Element Venator. But his other half is the Water Element Electro, who for some reason only knew how to start the fight with a critical hit. Luckily it wasn't long until I found an attempt where he didn't crit me turn 1, but then he just switched out to cure the poison Nichus put on him and switched to his full health Venator. I managed to one-shot the Venator, causing Electro to come back, and was lucky enough to not get crit one last time to survive and take them out. Maybe the fight would have been easier if my S-Raptor had his second move, but I spent like 4 hours looking for his leg fossil and just couldn't find it, so I just kept trying at the attendant. After quickly digging up the S-Raptor legs I needed, I headed over to the Digadigamid to fight off the BB bandits. The grunts standing at the entrance and Rex were both easy, but Snivels surprised me by getting 2 crits in a row on my S-Raptor and finishing me off with a third crit on my Nichus. Round 2 went more like as I expected, and I made my way through the Digadigamid to confront Vivian, who also posed no challenge. But with that all cleared up, I can now take on my level up fight against Nevada. Nevada is my first fight against a team of 3, while I only have 2, so I was a bit nervous, since 1-for-1ing is no longer an option. I lead with my S-Raptor and hit her Lexo with a crit super effective S-Fang for almost all of its health. She retaliates with a Poison Tail for minor damage, but does manage to poison me, leaving me a choice to make. Either I can switch S-Raptor out after they attack, or leave them in to save Nichus the risk of U-Raptor's 20% ultimate poison. I ultimately decided that the 15% poison damage isn't too much of a problem, and take out Lexo with another S-Fang. This forces U-Raptor forward, who hits S-Raptor with a U-Venom, thankfully missing the 20%, and an SZ Nichus Claw with S-Raptor just barely surviving. After that, I split up my FP to go for an S-Fang and then a Nichus Claw after moving Nichus up, hoping that one of the 2 attacks might be a crit, but no luck there. The luck is there for me after, though, as Nichus takes out U-Raptor the following turn and survives a Nichus Venom on just 3 health, letting me 2-shot Nevada's Nichus and win on my first try. Now that I've unlocked Rivet Ravine, I can unlock new Vivosaurs for my team, which is good for both variety and because S-Raptor and Nichus are kind of tight on experience, and I'd like to give them their 3rd and 4th fossils eventually. Unfortunately, I don't get enough new revivals for that luxury, as now I only get the long range and low FP user Steige. But one is better than none, right? That's what I would say if I didn't technically have a second revival available to me. You see, back in Knotwood Forest, the attendant originally prevented me from continuing on to the rest of the dig site. In order to proceed, I need to defeat him, which I did, and obtain a pass from Dr. Diggins that allows me to continue. This pass will only be given in exchange for some dino cakes, which you can purchase at the newly opened shop. The newly opened shop that just so happens to sell fossils. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you my special second encounter, Yango. Yango isn't much to look at right now, as they're just a defensive Vivosaur with low health, attack, and defense, and only have one move because they're just a head fossil. But if I need someone to soak up some damage and not have to worry about overleveling, then I've got Yango. I decided to try out Yango on one of the only fights that technically break the rules of these kinds of challenges, and why I have rule number 1, the Holt fight for the Electromite. This fight requires me to have a V-Raptor present during the fight. So technically I only get to use 2 Vivosaurs and 1 damage sponge, in a fight that features the Vivosaur Tricera. Tricera has good stats, good support effects, a low FP move, the Parting Blow ability to increase their strength when on low health, and most importantly, the water element. Suffice to say, this fight goes poorly. So I trade out Yango for someone with more power, bulk, and more importantly, poison, namely, Nichus. Since poison is technically non-elemental damage, I don't need to worry about the elemental resistance Tricera has to my attacks. So I'm hoping that I can get a poison off to shave away some health and deal the final blow before losing. Round 1 of this strategy, only V-Raptor is left standing, so that's a loss. Round 2, Tricera survives in Parting Blow range and demolishes me. Round 3, after taking out a Lasmith, Steige survives a Tricera combo from the SZ on just 2 health. Now I've got a chance. So I decide to put Steige's 40% crit chance, according to the wiki, to good use and hit a crit Fiendish Ram for not even a quarter. But some damage is good damage. Steige then falls to a running smash, and I decide to try and get a poison off from the SZ. I don't get it, but what I do get is a Tricera combo on V-Raptor, letting Nichus save some precious health and this time manage to poison Tricera from a much more effective AZ. That puts Tricera into the possible KO range for another attack, but it doesn't even matter because I just crit him anyways. After that close fight, I quickly deal with the BB Bandits with no issue and revive another Vivosaur. This time I get Nevada's ace, U-Raptor. U-Raptor's stats are pretty good, especially compared to the rest of my options, and has a low FP move. However, their support effects are only a 5% boost to attack, and their gimmick is their 20% chance on poison. Maybe I'll use them later, but I'll just stick with leading S-Raptor and having Nichus and Steige in the back to lower defense by a quarter. After that, I head to the Fossil Stadium just to fight Holt and his Tricera again. With the experience from before, my main strategy going in is to take out Tricera as soon as possible. Pachi is an earth element, so there's no threat there. And while Coatless is a good hitter, I would know, I'm more concerned about the Tricera. So I focus on hitting Tricera as much as possible to maximize my chances of extra crit damage by having S-Raptor use S-Fang and Steige use Fiendish Headbutt. I do manage 1 crit before S-Raptor goes down, and then another after. Luckily for me though, Tricera decides to attack Steige for less damage before retreating. I nail Coatless in front with 2 crits, and Steige deals 3/4 to Pachi in a single Fiendish Ram. Tricera then returns and Tricera combos Steige out of commission, but they don't have enough health to take a Nichus Venom, leaving just the almost down Pachi to fall the next turn. With Holt defeated, I can move on to the level master McJunker. Luckily though, McJunker doesn't have any water elements. Just the air elements Serato and Kentro, and the fire Steige. So I can quickly take out his Serato as his hardest hitter, get crit twice, and then finish off his Kentro and Steige for a quick and easy fight. With McJunker defeated, I can now go to Bottoms Up Bay, meaning I head straight to Woolbeard's Ribbon Fetch quest, as both the bay and the ship have no fire fossils whatsoever. I mean, it's an underwater area, so what were you expecting? Knickknack's first item is a molted bug shell from Dig-a-Dig Village. Rex jumps me on the way, but as usual posed no issue. Then I'm sent to get a sandal fossil from Greenhorn Plains, and meet Snivels there. In the first fight, Karchar and Lambeo used their heavy fists to beat me into the ground after I traded my S-Raptor for his Futabi. Round 2, I trade my Nichus for his Futabi and get crushed again. The third fight, I'm finally able to win after almost losing both U-Raptor and Nichus to Futabi. Then, once it's just S-Raptor against Lambeo and Karchar, Snivels, for no reason, decides to attack with Karchar from the weakened SZ instead of with Lambeo, letting me take out Lambeo and then finish off Karchar 2 turns later. Once I give Knick-Knack the Sandal Fossil, I can return to Greenhorn Plains and get a new Vivosaur in the pay-to-dig site, Andrarch. Andrarch has decent attack but horrendous health, meaning they aren't a frontliner. However, Andrarch does have the Link ability. Link allows an SZ Vivosaur to sometimes use their first attack for free after an AZ Vivosaur attacks. Since they're attacking from the SZ, Andrarch attacks aren't all that strong. However, any damage is good damage, and can hopefully take out some problem enemies faster. For his final item, Knick-Knack wants me to get him the dentures of a denture shark in Bottoms Up Bay. Once I get those, I can return to the hotel and fight Vivian. Now, Vivian. What can I say about this fight, except what is going on? Vivian has 2 Earth Vivosaurs, being Pachyrino and Lexo, and 1 powerful watery Elasmo. Going in, I know that Elasmo will be an issue, so I try to hit it hard with Nichus and then switch out for Yango. Here's where I expect Elasmo to one-shot my Yango, next turn my Andrarch, and then finally my Nichus. But no. Vivian instead decides to only use Pachyrino from the SZ to hit a weak, out-of-range Earth attack 3 times in a row before finally switching Elasmo out when it reaches half health. I manage to KO Pachyrino next turn with Yango and a return Nichus. Then I get poisoned by Lexo, almost take out Lexo, and get my Nichus obliterated by Elasmo, who's now back in the AZ. I hit Elasmo twice and move Yango to the front since they're already on death's door, and I'm left in a 2v1 situation against a water element that can one-shot my final Vivosaur. The only way I can win is by getting a crit on Elasmo, and I wasn't too sure that would work anyways. Well, lo and behold, Andrarch pulls said crit out of 3 hats in the rabbit's backside to take out Elasmo, and then finish off Lexo next turn. I did that fight for the fun of it. Yango has 1 move, Andrarch and Yango are only level 2, and nobody on my team had more than 100 health. I went in expecting to lose, but somehow I managed to first try Vivian despite every sign in the universe saying that I'm going to get slammed into the ground. Moving on, I give Knick-Knack his dentures for Woolbeard's ribbon, but decide to wait before fighting him. You see, Woolbeard has a full team of water elements, including the same tanky Elasmo that Vivian had, and Krona, who the game calls the T-Rex of the seas. So in order to maximize my chances of winning, I go back and forth from Rivet Ravine and the shop to dig up and sell fossils and buy the last fossil chip. This would unlock the 4th move of my Vivosaurs, but it also gives some needed level up and stat increases. I'm looking at you, Andrarch. It's during this time that I discover a mechanic of fossil fighters that I never really understood. Even now I'm not too sure, but I'm relatively confident that it wasn't a fluke. You see, in some dig sites like Rivet Ravine, there are additional Vivosaurs that the wiki marks as rare Vivosaurs. For example, Greenhorn Plains has the air element Tarbo, Bottoms Up Bay has the water Delta, and Woolbeard's ship has the earth Seismo. However, Rivet Ravine, specifically Tunnel Number 4, has a fire element Vivosaur within it. I always thought that rare just meant they were almost impossible to find, as I've tried to find them in the past but never found them. However, just after I get the final fossil chip upgrade for my sonar, I notice that the new fire fossils I've dug up are in 2 different shapes. Because of this, I'm assuming that rare fossils are both difficult to find, but also require a fully upgraded sonar, since I dug up fossils for hours and found nothing until then. Anyway, this is huge, as this gives me access to Rivet Ravine's rare hidden Vivosaur, the mighty Giganto. Giganto is exactly what I need in a frontliner. Giganto has the highest health and defense of all my Vivosaurs, while also having the highest attack. Giganto's support effects are horrendous, but they'll almost never be in the SZ anyways, so who cares. They also come equipped with the Mighty Stomp ability, which forcefully rearranges my opponent's Vivosaurs, and can even put them in the EZ. This will let me bypass my opponent's support effects, whether beneficial for them or detrimental for me. I've never used them before, but I know that Giganto will be an amazing member of my team. Once I get my Vivosaurs like Giganto and Andrarch their necessary fossils, I return to Willbeard to fight him. I go in with Giganto in the front and U-Raptor and Andrarch in the back. Andrarch's Link ability could help me finish off Krona or Elasmo before they hit me too hard, and U-Raptor can switch in for Giganto when they get low. I also want to save experience on Nightshus and S-Raptor if I can, since the two of them still only have 2 parts due to the level cap. During my first fight, I take way too long to take out Krona, leaving my team too weak to deal with Elasmo. The second fight, I decide to bring in S-Raptor despite the experience problem, as their 20% boost to Giganto's defense could help them stay in the AZ longer. Since Elasmo and Krona have so much health, I get to go first and start chipping away at Krona with Giganto and Andrarch's Link support. Willbeard never seems to attack with Krona unless he has 200 FP saved up, so I use that chance to wail on Krona with Giganto, and then switch out with S-Raptor to finish them off with Andrarch's Link attack. Now I'm in a great position in a 2.5 versus 2, but that doesn't last, as Elasmo immediately destroys S-Raptor at full health with a single Elasmo Fury. This forces fragile Andrarch forward, who does a little under half to Elasmo with a Dire Fury, and somehow manages to hold on with just 1 HP after an Elasmo combo. That manages to drop Andrarch into the Parting Blow range, which I did not know they had, but also enrages them. A normal enrage increases Andrarch's attack by 10 points, but lowers their accuracy by 30. Unfortunately, Giganto moves to the SZ next turn as well, further lowering Andrarch's accuracy by 20%. With Andrarch at 1 HP and Giganto low as well, I don't stand a chance at winning if I move Giganto forward. I have to keep Andrarch in front despite the enrage and just hope that they can KO Elasmo. So I go for a Dire Fury with Andrarch, and somehow manage to hit Elasmo down to just 3 health. This lets me remove the annoying enrage and bring Giganto forward to finish off Elasmo. This leaves just a tiny Plesio, who super poisons Giganto and survives a Gigabyte at just over half. The super poison kicks in at the end of the turn and deals 30% damage to Giganto. Now it's all down to luck again, as if Plesio does the smart thing and super poisons Giganto, I can't win. After all, Giganto would fall to the super poison, and Andrarch would follow them to even the weakest of attacks. Luckily though, Plesio decides to go for the guaranteed KO in their normal Plesio poison attack. Giganto still gets taken out, but now Andrarch comes forward on my turn, letting me take out Plesio with just 1 health remaining. I really lucked out with Andrarch surviving at 1, being able to hit Elasmo through the enrage, and with Willbeard choosing to not super poison Giganto. Now that Willbeard has his ribbon back, I can return to the Fossil Stadium for my level up fight. My first fight is Ellie, who goes down easily despite having 2 waters on his team. My next fight against Sally goes even better, leaving just Knick-Knack. Knick-Knack has a team full of air Vivosaurs, so I'm expecting an easy win. That's when Knick-Knack reminds me that he has a team skill, hitting my entire team with a 35% attack boost from M-Raptor. That's going to be a problem. So I start the fight with a Mighty Stomp to rearrange his team with M-Raptor in the EZ. But once they come back, Styraco keeps my Vivosaurs enraged, so I can't hit them and I lose. Okay, so round 2 I switch out U-Raptor for Stygie, hoping that the lower health will let me move first. I'm wrong, of course, and get hit with another team skill. This time Mighty Stomp puts M-Raptor in the AZ, letting me quickly take them out. I go through a long back and forth with Knick-Knack until it's just down to my Giganto and his Styraco. I almost have him when he manages to both crit and scare Giganto. Scare disables 2 of a Vivosaur's attacks, and disables 3 if it's a super scare. Unfortunately for me though, the scare from Styraco disables Giganto's sizzling breath. the only attack capable of defeating Styraco. So, now comes round 3, and... Okay, let's try that again. Round 4, I bring back U-Raptor for a heavier hitter, and take out M-Raptor first. But I take too long and end up in a 1v1 against a full health Elasmith. Well, 5th time's the charm? Maybe S-Raptor's defense boost and just being a harder and bulkier hitter will help? Honestly, I don't have many gimmicks to work with. I'm just stuck with hit it till it dies, throwing spaghetti at the wall tactics at this point. This time, M-Raptor is thrown into the easy, so I'm forced to try and take out Styraco before they come back. However, despite my efforts, Styraco survives on 1 health and enters Parting Blow. I was hoping Andrarch could link them out, but S-Raptor knocks them instead. The one time I don't want to knock, and I get one. Elasmith comes to the front and trades with S-Raptor just as Styraco returns. I have Giganto in the AZ and Andrarch in the easy, so I can either hope I crit M-Raptor and one-shot them, or guarantee that I take out Styraco. I decide to guarantee Styraco, but I get a crit anyway. This leaves just M-Raptor, who gets taken out in 2 turns by Andrarch. This chapter was just wild, and full of way too many sudden left turns. Seriously, why did I have to fight Snivels and Knickknack so many times, but Woolbeard takes only 2 tries, while Vivian takes only 1? I hope the rest of this challenge is more peaceful, but I really doubt it. With Knickknack defeated, I now have access to the dig site I've been waiting for this entire run, Mount Lavaflow. As it's an active volcano, Mount Lavaflow is obviously loaded with fire Vivosaurs for me to revive. You would think that, wouldn't you? Well, too bad, because a giant boulder blocks most of the dig site, and only allows me access to 2 Vivosaurs, being Saichan and Amargo. Saichan is the first Vivosaur I get that has significant support effects, as it boosts my leader's defense by 80%. Their attack drops by 10%, but most of the time I'll only be hitting for around 50 damage anyways, so that's like, what, 5 damage shaved off per attack? Nearly doubling my defense is worth it. Saichan also comes equipped with my favorite beneficial status effect, Harden, letting me boost a Vivosaur's defense by 30 points for a turn, as well as pretty good health and defense of its own. Amargo, on the other hand, is a sauropod, meaning they can attack from anywhere and not suffer an out-of-range debuff. Like Saichan, Amargo has good health and defense, but lags a bit behind my harder hitters like Giganto and S-Raptor in terms of damage. However, the pro of being a sauropod more than makes up for that, by giving me more flexibility with my attacks. I also now have access to a new section of Rivet Ravine, allowing me to revive Siamo. Siamo hits harder than Giganto and doesn't have the negative support effects, but also has less health and defense. I currently like the extra bulk that Giganto has, but maybe later on I'll need that extra damage from Siamo. Once I've finished acquiring my new team members, I can head out to the BB base to rescue Rosie. Oh yeah, she was kidnapped by the way. At the BB base I have to fight the BB trio again, but all 3 of them pose no issue at all. Especially Snivels. He was adamant about using his Karchar's team skill, so he just sat there and let me take them out with no resistance. Then comes the BB boss, Bulwart. Except he also was taken down easily. So after the chaos of last chapter, I'm just gonna breeze through this one, huh? Wrong again, because back at the Fossil Stadium is the true final boss of this chapter, Mrs. Wriggle. Mrs. Wriggle has a water element Electro in the front, a water element Futabi in the back, and my old friend, the air element Coatless as well. In fact, it's because of Coatless and their Super Enrage that I lose my first fight with her. Anyway, I beat Mrs. Wriggles on my next attempt. I just changed out Andrarch for Amargo, and then used Mighty Stomp to push Futabi to the front. Once Futabi was taken care of, Amargo can then take out the Betrayer, and then Electro falls because it just insists on super poisoning me, using an attack that does no damage at all. After Mrs. Wriggle comes Dr. Diggins, with his Water Dilopho, Fire Shuno, and Air Stego, but he was no problem at all. In fact, his team all went down in that order, With that taken care of, I can return to Mount Lavaflow for the rest of the fire Vivosaurs that the giant boulder hid from me. But not before the moment that I know we've all been waiting for. He's finally here. It's the one. It's the only. It's Zyno! As I'm sure you're all well aware, Zyno is, by far, the most powerful Vivosaur in the game. Every attack from Zyno is always a critical hit, and there's no Vivosaur that can survive when faced with this one, especially when Zyno enters their parting blow. Well, no Vivosaur except those with an evasion stat over 6. Fossil Fighters devs tried to balance Zyno by having its accuracy be the lowest in the game, but kinda turned that dial just a touch too far. In fact, you're more likely to find a natural red fossil for a rare Vivosaur than you are to land a hit with Zyno. Back to Mount Lavaflow, the only fire Vivosaur I was able to find was Shuno, meaning the rest are either in different areas or underneath the lava. Shuno's by no means bad, though. As a sauropod like a Margo, Shuno can attack from anywhere with no penalty. Shuno's attacks are also roughly the same FP cost as a Margo's, and their stats are pretty close too, though a Margo's are a bit higher. What Shuno does have over a Margo, though, is the Inflame ability. Inflame increases a Vivosaur's attack by 20, while decreasing their defense by 5. Andrarch has the upgraded form called Super Inflame, which increases attack by 40 and lowers defense by 10. But Super Inflame costs 180 FP, while regular Inflame costs only 50. This means that Shuno can provide utility by dealing roughly 20 more damage to enemies, basically being a more reliable Andrarch, but costing 50 FP instead of being free. Well, we can see just how useful they'll be, as I bring Shuno to my fight against Duna. I don't know what it is with this run. The air-only run was a breeze, no pun intended, while this run is just unpredictable. I fought Duna not once, not twice, not even 3 times, but 10 times. Duna is a water element with stats slightly lower than Giganto's, 2 confuse skills with one being a super confuse, meaning I can attack my own team, and support effects that boost defense, accuracy, and evasion by 77%. Duna also brings with her 2 Dinomatons, 2 neutral robots with very high attack and health, as well as a low-cost team skill. All 3 put together make one monster of a team for me to defeat. Attempt 1 is Shuno's debut, together with Amargo and Giganto. However, debuts this run seem to be cursed, as Shuno follows the usual trend of losing. Attempt 2, Amargo is replaced with Andrarch, hoping for link damage, while Shuno stays to give Inflames. No good there either. In fact, I don't take out even one of Duna's team members. Fight number 3 replaces Shuno with Amargo. Amargo's power scale can actually lock the Dinomatons out of their team skill the first time they use it, which is really helpful. Not helpful enough to win that time, but, helpful for the future. Fight 4, I replace Giganto with Siamo for the extra damage. That's also a nope. My 5th try, I bring Saichon instead of Andrarch to use Harden a lot. This fight actually goes the best so far, as all Duna has left is a Dinomaton at a 3rd. 6th try swaps Giganto with Shuno, hoping to KO some back rows. Back to being crushed. Number 7, I keep the same team, but it doesn't go any better. Considering how close my 6th try was, I decided to level up my Vivosaurs to level 6. Of course, leaving just barely enough room for them to be used later on in the chapter. Saichon actually surprises me by getting 4 extra attack, but Giganto gets a whopping 8 attack and 5 defense added. Man, Giganto really is amazing. I also get Nightshust their 4th fossil and S-Raptor their 3rd. Just in case I need them later. With my extra stats, especially on Giganto, I go for my 8th attempt against Duna. This time I bring Giganto, Amargo, and Saichon, while focusing more on defense. I try to keep just enough FP after attacking to get a Harden on my AZ Vivosaurs, but Duna's confusion is a massive thorn on my side. Number 9 doesn't go any better, but this strategy of Saichon's Harden, Amargo's Power Scale, and Giganto being Giganto is my best shot at winning. Then comes Fight 10. Every fight, Duna's first turn is her switching out with a Dinomatin and then attacking, so I don't need to worry about the elemental boost. However, I want to get rid of Duna first, so I don't have to deal with her support effects, confusion, and just being a powerful water. So I try a new strategy of leading with a Mighty Stomp. This puts Duna in the SZ, so on her turn she moves forward. But Giganto can take her attack well thanks to Saichon's 75% defense boost. Then I go for my strategy of hit Duna, harden, and repeat. Well, I do for one turn anyway, as Duna confuses Giganto and has them swap out for Amargo. Luckily, Amargo manages to scare Duna. Unluckily, Duna goes to the EZ to remove the scare, and use Dinomatin's team skill. Once Giganto comes back, I use another Mighty Stomp, but Duna is still in the EZ. She returns next turn, moves to the AZ, and then confuses Giganto. Giganto hits the SZ Dinomatin twice, and I make sure to keep them hardened until Amargo returns. We go through a bit of a back and forth with Duna leaving, me attacking and hardening, and finally I move Giganto out of the AZ when their health gets low, bringing Saichon to the front. Duna confuses Saichon and I just keep hitting her with Saichon and Amargo, until the confusion has Amargo move forward. I finally manage to take Duna out with an Amargo Stomp, and hit the new Dinomatin with a Gigabyte from the SZ. This is where the fight gets decided, as Duna's Dinomatins go for 2 scissor swipes on Amargo instead of a Heartless Fury. I don't know why they did that. I'm pretty sure Heartless Fury would take out Amargo, but I'm not complaining. Once Amargo is taken out, I can use Giganto's Sizzling Breath to take out the Dinomatin, switch in Saichon for a Fire Spear, and then finally defeat the last Dinomatin with another Sizzling Breath. That was not enjoyable. I saw just enough hope in those fights to keep trying, but not enough hope to have confidence in winning. I really think the Dinomatins splitting their attacks won me that fight, but I'm just glad it's over and I can continue the run. After defeating and then rescuing Duna, I head back to the island, get frozen by Bulwart and Frie, hunt down and revive Igno, and then return for the real Frie fight. Last time, I won this fight after around 20 minutes, by abusing Super Enrage's accuracy reduction. This time, I don't have that luxury. But I do have Saichon, who can increase Igno's 54 defense by 75%, and apply a harden on Igno every turn. Then, once I've saved up enough FP, I can use Amargo's Blazing Doom to hit Frie for double the damage Coatless's Great Vortex did. It still took a long time, but Bulwart only attacked Igno for some reason, so I was never in any danger. Now that Bulwart's arrested again, I can revive 2 new Vivosaurs, Guan and Aineo, and get Yango their long-awaited upgrades. Yango's upgrades don't matter too much, as they're still just a defensive Vivosaur with low attack, health, and, funnily enough, defense. Guan, on the other hand, is outstanding. Although Guan is fragile, they nearly double my leading Vivosaur's attack, and can use a hefty chunk of FP to transform into the unobtainable, post-game locked T-Rex. Guan will mostly be used for that amazing attack boost, but the transform ability may be useful later. Finally, there's Aineo. Aineo has pretty good health and defense, but lower attack than I'd like. They also have a knock skill with an 80% chance to trigger, which is better than S-Raptors. However, do you see it? Aineo's support effects lower the opponent's accuracy by 25%, which is nice if I need accuracy manipulation. Aineo also lowers the opponent's evasion by 50%. Many Vivosaurs have evasion in the mid-teens, which when halved is around 6 to 8 evasion. That means one thing. It's Xyno time, baby! It's not Xyno time, baby! Jokes aside, my level up fight against Westley was horrible. Not counting my Xyno attempts that you just saw, I had to fight Westley 12 times in order to win. And the way I won was very in theme for how this challenge has been. Westley leads with a bulky and powerful, long-range class, water element Krona. I'm not allowed to lose even a single member of my team for this fight. And if my health is too high, then Westley goes first and takes me out easily. So I need a low health team that also hits hard enough to remove Krona quickly. So I bring Guan for the 90% boost, Andrarch to lower Krona's attack by a little bit, they're the best I have, unfortunately, and Siamo, since they're my hardest hitter while still being in the health range. I start with a Siamo combo on Krona for about 2/5, but my main goal is to get the 30% scare. Now Krona will hopefully be locked out of their cheat moves and give me a little extra time. Kentro goes for their Wind Spines attack though, meaning I managed to scare Krona out of their 100 FP Krona Bite, and confuses Siamo. That's very not good, as the confusion will last longer than Krona's scare. Siamo ends up attacking Delta with a Siamo Fang twice before Krona's scare wears off, and they hit Guan with a Snapping Jaws for massive damage. Luckily though, I have just enough FP for a Scorch Breath team skill, the first team skill of the run if I might add, and managed to take out Krona and Delta at the same time, leaving just Kentro to fall shortly after. Yet another ridiculous fight that I somehow managed to win after getting extremely lucky. My next fight against Mr. Ozowit was annoying because he kept healing, but I eventually outdamaged him and won. That leaves just Saurhead. I bring a Margot to the front to try and take out Saurhead's Guan quickly, which would leave him with just his Earth element Pachirino and Pelto, while also bringing my own Guan to help with that, and Saichon for defense. Turn 1, Saurhead surprises me by moving Guan forward, and then doesn't attack, so I deal major damage to them on my turn. Saurhead then shows his 200 IQ play, and uses great unmasking to both fully heal and then transform Guan into a T-Rex. I eventually get down to just T-Rex, but lose because it's a T-Rex with a ton of FP. The second time I bring in Giganto, managed to take out Guan with Giganto and my Guan, and then one-shot the rest of Saurhead's team. How anticlimactic. Well, we're now at the final stretch. Rapton and Duna steal the idols from the Richmond basement, so I have to get some of Saurhead's masks to sneak on board the Dinorian ship with Dr. Diggins. However, Saurhead says that he'll only give me the masks if I defeat him 5 times in a row. Considering how much of a challenge that will be, I decided to get upgrades for my Vivosaurs, getting them all to around level 7 with just enough of an experience gap for later, and revive 3 new Vivosaurs, being Lambeo, Dimorph, and a Smilo I purchased from the fossil shop. Lambeo is basically another Giganto that has a healing team skill instead of a rearranging skill. Lambeo also has a massive amount of health and attack, along with pretty good defense and support effects that actually hinder my opponent and not me. Lambeo is a pretty good replacement for Giganto, at least for now, as Giganto may get better stats after leveling up for the final time. Dimorph has amazing support effects that lower all of the enemy's stats by 25%, as well as having my beloved Super Enrage on a low FP skill. Where Dimorph falls behind Coatless, though, is their health and defense. With a little over 100 health and only 5 defense, Dimorph is only 1 good hit away from being beaten. It's because of that Dimorph unfortunately can't be a reliable member of my main team. But looking ahead, there is one fight that I can use them in pretty well. Finally, Smilo is a post-game locked Vivosaur that boosts defense and evasion by 90%, as well as having the FP Plus ability, which gives me extra FP every turn. However, I wish I had gotten them much sooner, as Smilo is only level 1 with a single attack. So unless I'm willing to spend who knows how long to get them up to level 7, I'm not, then Smilo is more of a trophy than anything else. Now it's time for the Saurhead 5. I bring Guan and Saichon for their amazing support effects, Giganto and Lumbeo as hard hitters that either rearrange or heal, and Amargo to take out problematic back rows. The first fight is against Saurhead's neutral team, with his leading Neo together with a Brachio and Jara. Jara is fragile yet annoying, as they can steal FP, put me to sleep, and turn their lost health into damage with Spite Blast. I decide to remove Jara first, but Jara keeps putting Amargo to sleep, so I harden them and just wait it out. Eventually, Saurhead changes to using Brachio's Mighty Stomp rearrange, letting me take out Jara and Neo with Citron's team skill and Amargo's Amargo Stomp. With those two gone, Brachio goes down easily as well. Round 2 is Saurhead's water team, consisting of his leading Cryo and his back row Angato and Ankleo. Since it's a water team, you'd expect that they'd give me trouble, since my team is all fires. In addition, Ankleo doubles Cryo's defense, so there's no point in attacking them. So I decide to quickly take out Angato to prevent them from doing too much poison damage, and then I take out Ankleo to remove the double defense, leaving just Cryo, who just goes down easy. Next is the Earth team, with Karchar, Acro, and Pachi. Karchar is a beast, but doesn't hit the SZ very well. However, Pachi does, and I'm concerned about losing Guan's 90% attack boost. I stay with Amargo in front to deal with Pachi, but it turns out that both of us just want to use our team skills. I apply Hardens on Guan just in case, and then take out Pachi with my very first team skill, followed by Acro with the second, and Karchar with a body hammer from Saichon. This was by far the easiest fight I've had this whole run. 3 attacks, and we're done. Second to last is the air team of Kentro with Styraco and Paraloff. I really don't want to deal with Styraco's parting blow, so I focus on them first. Saurhead only uses his team skill from Kentro, as I weaken Styraco enough to take out both them and Paraloff with my team skill. That leaves just Kentro to fall to a blazing doom next turn. Finally is Saurhead's Fire team, with the monster T-Rex, together with Gorgo and Tarbo. I really don't want to deal with a T-Rex that has a huge FP stockpile this fight. And luckily, I don't have to, as Lumbeo replaces Amargo and defeats T-Rex with 2 Lumbeo combos. The rest of Saurhead's team follows shortly after, also being defeated by 2 attacks, and defeating the Saurhead 5 with no trouble at all. Now that I have Saurhead's mask, I can sneak onto the Dinorian ship and fight Dinal's Dinomatting guards in the idle room. Now it's Xyno time! The Dinomatins have more evasion than I thought, but that's nothing for Anio and Dimorph. Unfortunately, that does mean trading defense for offense, as no one has Harden. But what can you do? I hit the first Dinomatin with a cleaver, and then KO the second forward-moving Dinomatin with a slicer and another cleaver. With a heavy heart, Xyno is taken out next turn with a Heartless Fury and a Steel Slash, leaving just Anio and Dimorph. Determined to avenge the legend himself, Anio separates the 2 Dinomatins by knocking one of them to the EZ, and Dimorph damages the remaining one with a crit Ignite Rage. The Dinomatins are immune to Enrage, but not to support effects from Dimorph, causing them to fall the next turn, and leave the final Dinomatin to the same fate after 2 Anio Furies. During the battle, Dr. Diggins disconnects one of the idols, gets warped back in time, and then I'm sent to retrieve the now shattered idol fragments from the major dig sites and the new Secret Island. Secret Island gives me access to my final 3 revivals: Bream, Sopteryx, and Maya. Bream is pretty cool with their poison as well as health and FP stealing attacks. They're too defensively weak for me to use, but still cool. Sopteryx is also cool, as they are the ultimate Xyno counter by almost doubling evasion. Still too weak, but cool. Maya I'm actually happy about though, as Maya has decent health, attack, and defense, as well as both cheap team healing moves and the ability Null Song, which removes all effects like poison or enrage from the target. If I'm having trouble dealing with status effects like those later, then Maya will be a great way to counter them, making Maya a great replacement for Lumbeo. Now it's time for my fight against Raptin, who has great stats, powerful poison attacks, and support effects that lower all of my stats except attack by 77%, being the opposite of Duna. There's another reason why he's the opposite of Duna, though. You know, because he was ridiculously easy. Raptor himself was taken out with 2 Giganto attacks, same with the first Dinomatin, and the second Dinomatin is taken out by Saichon and Giganto after losing Guan. How about Dino after he takes back the now repaired idol? Dino is the Dinorian king with amazing stats and 100% accurate Excite and Poison skills. And... oh. Nope. Dino goes down in 2 sizzling breaths and 2 gigabytes. Maybe the Dinomatins can... oh. First one falls to a team skill and a sizzling breath, and the second to a fire spear from Saichon. Well, there's now Guhnash and his 3 brains. Gavorn is a powerful hitter with the strongest attack skill in the game. Galith is a great defender that shares a rearrange skill with Gaweep, who themselves have a team heal skill. Surely the almighty World Eater Guhnash can put up a chow. Did Gavorn just go down in the exact same way as Dino? Well, Guhnash still has Gaweep and Galith, who force Giganto into the SZ with a whirling displacement. Saichon does a small amount of damage and confuses Galith, who switches for Gaweep, who then falls 3 turns later. Galith? Oh. Nope, that's also out 3 turns later. You know, I really hate this game sometimes. Anyway, Guhnash explodes, Rosie and I enter Stone Sleep, because I chose Rosie this time instead of Duna. Rosie loses her memories, the Digadig chieftain tells me to vigorously and passionately shake my hips at her, please don't sue me. Rosie regains her memories, and I beat Fossil Fighters with only Fire Element Vivosaurs. Really? Really, Fossil Fighters? That's how we're going to end this? I think I spent more time fighting Duna and Westley separately than I did for all the final chapter fights combined. Really? Well, Giganto, together with Saichon and Guan at the end, were by far the MVPs of this run. Turns out having a powerful and bulky guy in front, whether Giganto or even a Margot, and boosting their attack and defense by 80% is pretty strong. Could I have won without them? Maybe, but I'm not doing this again anytime soon. I'm at least happy that I got a Zyno win in there, though. Even in a restricted challenge like this, Zyno can still have a place to shine. Next video will be Fossil Fighters, but with only Earth Element Vivosaurs. And I'm thinking that it might be easier than this one. It better be. This was just a roller coaster. Well, that's finally it for this video. So, I'll see you next time. Later.